Supergirl episode 17, Manhunter. So I gotta say, I think this was just one episode that was really good. It was just one great episode after another. I think personally, I actually prefer this episode, although the last one, actually, I don't know, if I watched it again, I'd probably still prefer the last one. But this, I think, was really great as sort of a kind of lead in to things to come. I think the last episode it did a great lead in, of course, with the very end because, of course, Jean was revealed to be the Manhunter, so we knew that would have an impact. But just as a solitary episode, I think the last one does a better job just individually, and then I think this one was great because it's like, man, a lot of cool stuff happened in this episode, but the coolest stuff about it is what's coming from this episode, and that is at first, and they didn't even need to do this, but first off, they introduced Cadmus, which as soon as they said that, the first thing I thought of was Superboy because Cadmus, and actually I only know this thanks to Young Justice, and basically me going into other stuff because of Young Justice, but Cadmus creates Superboy. Like, and I think there are multiple versions depending on, like Young Justice did it where it was half of Superman's D and then the other half was Lex Luthor. And I'm not sure if that's how it is in the comic books. It probably is the same sort of thing. But basically, they make Superboy. So as soon as they said Cadmus, that was the first thing that popped into my head was Superboy. Um, I can't even remember the name of his like evil clone. That's like it's not as smart as him. So basically, it's just all rage. So that's what I was thinking. I was like Cadmus. I thought Superboy, but there is a lot more to it. Of course, they talk about how it's basically them using alien DNA to create weapons for the military, and I just love the fact that they introduced that. So that was really good. Basically, zero of what I thought this episode was going to be about, based on the promo, which was like, oh, Kara's trying to kind of get the city back on her side of the fence, and it's like that did not happen whatsoever. That was like nothing about this. It was the very beginning, and other than that, that was really it. So that didn't happen, and I'm totally fine with that because what we got was actually a really great sort of flashback episode. We got lots of different time periods. We got, I believe it was 10 years ago with Hank and John Jones when he actually first met Jeremiah, and how he learned about Alex and Kara, and how, despite the fact that he was being hunted, he created, he actually made a friendship because he saved someone, and he learned that not all humans are just gonna, try to hunt him down. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really well done how they played it out, and we find out exactly what happened to Hank Henshaw, and it's that Jeremiah got into a fight with him, and Jeremiah actually got stabbed, and then he threw Hank Henshaw off a cliff, so he gets thrown off a cliff, and then Jeremiah is actually seemingly dead, like we think that he died, and I was kind of blown away by the ending because they show him, of course, waking up and everything, and I'm guessing that meant like John just kind of took off, like, oh, he just said like, oh, he died, and so maybe he left him there, or something like that. So it was just pretty crazy. I was like, man, that I did not see that coming. So Dean Cain is not dead. Um, I'm curious to see how that plays out with him, especially with the time span is like all these years. I would assume is just basically torturing him. So I'm curious how he's really gonna physically look. Like, is he gonna look the same? Is he gonna just be like deformed, or just like what are they gonna do? Um, once he's reintroduced to the series. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Of course, we have Hank and Alex who are being taken to Cadmus. They're now criminals on the run, so they're off doing like, I don't even know, like the spy thing, I guess. Like they're gonna try to find Jeremiah. So really looking forward to that. I don't know if we're gonna end up getting an episode that's like this is them doing like the spy thing, but I think that would be a cool episode. So they're off on the run. Lucy finds out Kara is Supergirl. Lucy is also named the new, at least acting director, is specifically what the woman said. So that generally means like you're kind of a long substitute is kind of what that means from what I understand, at least when someone says like you're the acting head or something. It's basically just like a long temporary measure. So for now, Lucy's going to be the head of the DOE, and or DEO. I always say DOE, but the DEO. And I'm very curious how that's going to play out. I mean, based on the episode, there aren't going to be any issues between her and Kara anymore, so that's going to work out fine. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how that plays out because, of course, the whole love triangle thing, I don't know if that's going to return now that she's back in the fold, but seemingly the way it ended between Lucy and Jimmy, it was kind of like she understood what was happening and she just didn't want to be involved in that. So I don't think it'll cause any extra issues because she also knew, like, with Kara's, like, I can tell that she feels the same way about you. So I don't think that's going to resurface, and I really hope it doesn't because I feel like she knew what was happening when she was actually trying to continue to be with Jimmy. So after being over just because she found out that Kara was Supergirl, I don't think that should fix anything. So I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't just like start over like we can make it work now because I understand and stuff. I think her understanding it just made it worse, at least in the moment. But they're good now, which I actually like because that was the thing with Lucy where every time she met Kara as Supergirl, she just instantaneously like just seemed mean for no good reason. So I'm kind of glad to see that that's over because I like her outside of that. But every time she was with Kara as Supergirl, she just instantly went to like, I don't like you because basically you're an alien, so you suck. So I'm glad to see that that's over. Definitely looking forward to seeing how all this stuff plays out with her as the new head. And like I said, definitely want to see what we're going to get from Hank and Alex trying to find Jeremiah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we have Siobhan in this episode. And from the very beginning, when they had her and Win at the bar and stuff, and she's like, I hate her and stuff, I was like, I think she's going to become a supervillain. Like, it popped into my head, like, I think she'll be a supervillain because they're keeping her in the show. I know she's not going to get her job back. So what could they do? And I was like, I think she'll be a supervillain. I don't know how long she's going to be in the show, but that seems like it could be possible. Then it continues on, and they have the ending scene where she's, of course, she gets busted and everything because when basically rats her out because she wasn't being a great person. And so she's on the roof, and then Kara flies over Supergirl. She's like, oh, I hate you too. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this is leading to a supervillain moment. And of course, she falls off the roof, and I thought she was gonna die and like basically come back to life automatically, and we find out she's like nearly immortal or something weird like that. But she screams as she's falling, and she creates like sonic waves out of her mouth. Um, Oddly enough, we of course won't be getting her turning into Black Canary or anything because we have that in Arrow. Although it's funny because in Arrow she doesn't actually have that superpower. But we have this, which I do find kind of funny that they're doing that, where it's like they've had Black Canary for quite a few seasons, two different people playing Black Canary, and neither of them technically had the superpower of like the Canary Cry. And now we have a character finally who actually can do that, but she's not going to be Black Canary. So I'm assuming she's going to turn into a supervillain. I'm just saying that based on her character and how she started off not too nice. Granted, she wasn't like evil and like supervillain. She was work devious. Doesn't really lead to like I'm gonna murder people and stuff like that. But just based on the way they did her character, I feel like something's gonna happen and she'll get really really dark, super super fast. And I feel like that's how they're gonna play it. For now, she's just in pure shock. And we might get, I'm assuming we'll get an explanation on that because that's how they ended the episode, is with the revelation that she's actually superhuman. And they have the crossover next week, which I'm very excited for. So I don't know if they're gonna actually use the term metahuman, which I highly doubt because she was unless they say like, oh, she was in Central City, which I don't think they will, and I'll kind of get to that. But there's gonna be some explanation to it, maybe genetically speaking. Maybe she's an alien race. Maybe she is actually just superhuman, because that's another thing. I mean, they have that just like Black Canary. She just has that power. Like, there are just people that have powers. That's the thing. So, definitely looking forward to seeing exactly how all this stuff is going to play out. But very, very excited to see where they go with that ending, and if she will become a supervillain just because she hated Kara, and then she's like, oh, I hate Supergirl, which she didn't have any reason to really hate her. I don't believe she didn't, like, zero interaction there, but she hates her nonetheless. So that's pretty much, that's just the way it is. I guess she hates her because of the news story was like, this is my big scoop, and ultimately it didn't work. Although that technically had nothing to do with Supergirl messing with it, but I guess she was also drinking at the end, so it's like you're involved, so I hate you, whatever. So looking forward to seeing where that goes. Of course, next week is the Flash Supergirl crossover. Very excited for that. I chose not to watch the trailer until this episode because I didn't want to see any promos ahead of time. I just wanted to wait and see it with the episode. Um, Looks cool. The one thing that really upset me was like the first clip where they show the Flash in this episode, and he's running through a breach. And I don't want to get too far into Flash for people, those of you who may not be caught up with the current season. But that bothers me for a very, very specific reason, and I'm hoping that it just looks that way. But I feel like that isn't the case. I really hope it's just like a random thing, but based on what they did, I don't believe it's gonna be. Um, well, I can just say it because it's not really a spoiler or anything, but basically, I don't think it's gonna be the same sort of continuity. Like when they go back to Flash, I don't think there will be an episode unless they do something very special where Supergirl will ever show up in either Arrow or Flash, unless they do something really, really unique. And that's kind of unfortunate. It makes it a little bit different than what I was expecting. It's not exactly um, the same. I'm really trying to be super vague, but I want to talk about it. But just in case, I will avoid talking too much about what happens. But I'll see. I'm really hoping I'm wrong because of what's going on with the Flash, and really it's the visuals that they use. Despite what they did recently in the Flash, based on the visuals, it makes me think that it's a certain thing. So I'm like, I really hope that's not the case, and the visual just happens to look very similar. Um, but we saw what happened in that very first promo. He runs out of a portal, so I'm hoping it was some weird teleportation type deal. But I don't believe that's going to be the case, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait and see. Either way, it'll definitely be a cool crossover. And they're supposed to have a race. I saw that in an article a while back that they're supposed to do like the actual race, which is pretty cool. Like they're doing a lot of stuff. Of course, Superman's in the movies, so a lot of the stuff that he's done, they're doing in the Supergirl show, and I totally appreciate that because we're not gonna have Superman outside of Dean Cain as a guest star. We're not gonna have Superman on TV anymore, or at least not for a long time. If they kind of go back and do something way after the movies and everything, they do kind of like maybe just another live action Superman show. Probably not like Smallville. That's kind of just its own thing. I don't think they could recreate that, but I'm looking forward to the little race. That should be pretty funny. But it'll be a fun crossover regardless, so I'm definitely excited for that. But I do hope that I'm wrong based on the promo, that it's not what I'm thinking that it is from the current season of The Flash, because I wanted to all just be like, hey, we can go here and we can go there. Not a ton of extra stuff required. So that's what I'm hoping for, but we will just have to wait and see. And there might be an answer to that in tomorrow's episode of The Flash as well. So that was something that they did talk about, and that could be the case. And it would be very interesting if they actually did that, where tomorrow's episode of Flash led into the crossover, which I think would actually be a very, very sweet way to do that, because they know when their shows are gonna line up with each other, so they could do that if they wanted to. And based on where the Flash currently is, that could be something that they can make happen in this next episode tomorrow night. So looking forward to seeing if that's how that'll play out. But either way, I'm looking forward to this crossover. Of course, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys want to see from Cadmus, because like I said, when I first heard it, the first thing I thought of was Superboy, his like evil clone and all that stuff. So personally, that's what I want. Lots of clone stuff, actually. And like I said, I mostly know this from Young Justice. So Superboy clone, Roy clone, which they probably won't do that because they already kind of went through all of Roy's stuff in Arrow, where he was basically every version that he could be. They've kind of already done that, but they certainly could if they wanted to, and that would be a cool way to kind of keep him at least within the universe. I think that would be a cool way to do it. But Cadmus is kind of a big thing. That's like one of the big organizations within the DC universe. So I'm really hoping they utilize it a lot. Um, I would love to see Superboy show up, although I highly doubt that that would happen. And if it did, that certainly wouldn't be as soon as I would prefer. It would probably be like, seasons from now if they even choose to, kind of follow that route. But I'm hoping, at least by the end of the season, we get to see where Cadmus is. And maybe they'll throw some hints in there, and maybe we'll get to see like a random little frozen chamber, and we can just barely make out a Superman symbol or something like that. And that'll be our clue, like, we're definitely doing Superboy or something like that. So that's what I want to see. Definitely want to know what you guys want to get out of Cadmus, and definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.